Hi, I'm Liv.
Hi, I'm Seb.
So what's the process for Take the Wheel? What did you guys do?
So you just log in with the details that your teacher gives you. You watch a little video to learn about cognitive steering. You learn about each of the factors in turn. That's the interesting bit. And it makes sense of everything that you find out about yourself. So don't skip through, take the time to get to grips with it. After each one, you'll get your data. Just click See My Results. First from in general, so that's like outside of school, including at home. It looks like a graph over the years. Tap out what you notice in the graph. Maybe that's where the peaks are, or the kind of like troughs and drops, or where it steadies. Then you'll think about why that may be. Next, it will add data from in school to the graph, so you can see it alongside and compare. Don't be alarmed if it dramatically changes from in general, because we do tend to respond differently to different contexts. But maybe that's something you want to think about why. You'll think about your steering, how it could be a strength, maybe a limitation too. None of it is black and white. And then you'll choose how you want to steer. And that can be in general or specifically at school. That's how all the factors go.
Do you do it on your own or is it a group activity?
No, it's just you and your data.
Yep, nice and private. You can reflect on it completely at your own pace. Like talking about it after, if you like. See if your friend noticed the things that you did too, or you didn't and the data picked it up.
Yeah. You can always talk to your teacher as well. Talk through anything that you're like confused about. They'll know steer, so.
So how private are your results?
Really private. There's like a whole privacy page that you have to accept, and you can opt out whenever.
Opting out whenever, and whatever you say isn't taken away in any way by steer. Results just for you and you only. And then after, as private as you want them to be, you can chat about it or keep it to yourself. It's your data, so if you want, you can share it with your friends, family, teachers, etc., or you can keep it to yourself so only you know about it.
So how long does it take?
Like less than an hour.
Not long at all.
40 to 50 minutes, I think it says. But your teacher might split it over like 1 or 2 lessons, maybe. It's just as much time as you give it, really. You could race through, but don't do that because you'll like waste it.
Yeah, and it might be the most interesting or relevant PSHE citizenship lesson that you've ever had. So definitely make good use of it, I'd say.
Yeah, me too.
Did it match up with what you already knew about yourself?
Well, now I know what overregulating means. I can see that is like what I was doing in school. Maybe it makes sense of why I was so like relaxed and at ease at home. Because like when school is kind of socially effortful, home is like completely my backstage.
Yeah, and for me, obviously, I knew that at school I like to spend more time around others, like sort of trusting them more, and at home I had really put more faith in myself. But I didn't realise quite how much how broad the difference was between at school and home. So that was a really big thing that I got to see in the results.
Have you seen a lot of change throughout your time at school?
Yeah, I mean, for me, in some aspects, they were pretty up and down, but others stayed pretty consistent. So I've seen that I'm quite enigmatic, and that's stayed constant throughout the entire time that I've been at school and also at home in the last few years. But also, for example, trust of self's been all over the place, which is quite interesting. And you can see how it tracks different stages of my life, to be honest.
Yeah, that's so true. You really like see the correlations between your steering and different experiences at different points, like the ups and downs of friendships. And like when my older brother, I've got 2 older brothers, when my older brothers left home, like my trust of self skyrocketed and I was like no longer being bullied.
Yeah.
And then it like steadied a little bit again because I was less good at being an adult than maybe a child, so I was humbled.
And what's the most interesting thing about doing it?
Learning what like cognitive steering is.
Yeah, fair point.
I've never like come across anything like that.
Yeah. But it's also very, because I've done some sort of personality test sort of things before, and this is completely different because it's such a such a broad spectrum of where you can be on it that it's really individualised, and I found it really interesting. And it's
it's definitely
honestly
not generic.
Because from this, I quite fancy taking some psychology classes at university.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I found it
nice.
really interesting. So,
Oh.
Is it worth doing it?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Got so much insight into who I am as a person, and also I've been able to take out some strengths and weaknesses from that, and it's given me an idea, honestly, so far as to what I even want to do in the next few years.
Yeah, and if anything, because it just like makes sense of all the random, weird, like imagination tests that you've been doing, like steer assignments out of school that then just like disappeared after.
Yeah.
Like we say, like you'll see your personal development, and when you're at school, that's like a map of your entire adolescence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't really like tools like this.
No. There's nothing else that can show you how you've changed over time, and especially this information getting taken at such a growth-filled period in your life. Yeah, it's really interesting to see what factors have influenced your steering biases. So yeah, it's really, really cool to see, honestly.
Yeah. So that's the like, I don't know, sentimental side of it if you're that kind of person. But also it might just highlight something that you didn't really get about yourself before. So you know yourself better in the future. You know what your kind of like tendencies are, or like things to safeguard against.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say to students about to do it themselves?
Don't just do it for the sake of it.
Yeah, exactly what I was about to say.
And appreciate these like novel lessons.
What is one thing that you know about yourself now that you'll take away with you from these insights?
That my self-disclosure is like pretty in the middle, which means that I don't know, that I'm like steering situations as opposed to having like a one-size-fits-all kind of approach.
Yeah.
Where I'm like either blurting everything out, or I'm like never saying anything or letting anyone in. I think that means that I've kind of chosen the people who I'm trusting.
Yeah.
I suppose that sort of trust of others as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that I've made some like really close friendships out of that.
Yeah, and for me, my willingness to change, is it? That one, willingness to change is pretty high. So I'm thinking that from this, mine are very
seeking change.
That's it. Mine are quite future based. So that's something that I've been talking about a lot. But I'm thinking that it's also given me some good pointers on what I want to do with my life. I don't want to be in one place. So that's something that I hadn't really thought about myself until I took these.
What is one way you'd like to adapt or evolve in the future?
I mean, for me, I'd like to get my trust of others a bit less polar, because I'd like to move it a bit more towards the middle. And I think that goes for most of my steering biases, to be fair. I'd like to become a bit more of a balanced person, because I'm quite all over the place. But also from that, I've got a relatively outgoing nature, so perhaps I could think about channeling that into group scenarios and knowing when to use that as well.
To more and more take the pressure off myself on things.
Nice.
To be like more comfortable in situations with a slightly lower trust of self, i.e. be more comfortable being like kind of less confident at something, or like less good at something, or competent, blah blah blah. When I was younger, I definitely noticed signs of like perfectionism, and I don't really want them.
No,
It's not all that healthy. So